Is there a formula for happiness? And if there was a formula for happiness, what do you think that would look like? Professor Arthur Brooks said this. He said, if you look at the online formula for happiness, it goes something like this. Number one, love things. Number two, use people. And number three, worship yourself. Now, every time you check your phone or go online, it doesn't mean you're going to see banners saying, love things, use people, worship yourself. But those three commands, if you would, or desires, are what underwrites everything we see online in our digital space that will make us happy. But it doesn't make us happy. It makes us stressed. It makes us frenetic. It makes us want more and more and more, and we want more things faster and faster and faster. This is the world we live in. This is what feeds our minds, our days, our working, meeting deadlines, scrolling, going in a car, taxing people all over the place. And we wonder, why are we so anxious? You give yourself a little test. How many times when you're driving down the road do you simply stay in the right-hand lane? Or are you always trying to get over in the left so you can pass because you're in a hurry? How about when you buy some groceries and you're checking out in the grocery store line and you're looking at what line is the shortest so I can minimize my time in this line? And then you see someone else and you start counting the items in their, they have more than 10. And try this on for size. You're sitting in traffic at a stoplight and you look to your right and there's a driver in another car. You look to your left and there's a driver in another car. And what are those drivers doing? They're on their phones. They're not looking. Whether the light's turning green, red, orange, or pink with purple polka dots, no. They're looking at their phones because there may be some urgent message that you've got to get at this 35-second stoplight, and we don't want to waste time. So the more time-saving gadgets we have, the more technology intrudes upon our life, the more tethered we are to that technology, the less peace, the less patience, the less meaning we have in our lives. And we become addicted to our screens, addicted to speed, addicted to little videos and stories. And we want these things with a click, a swipe, and we want it now. This is where we live. This is the world we all inhabit in this time and space. Centuries ago, not years ago, centuries ago, before there were smartphones, before there was something called the internet, scientist and philosopher Blaise Pascal wrote these haunting prophetic words. He said this. He said, the sole cause of man's unhappiness is that he doesn't know how to stay quietly in his room. Romans 12 urges us, don't let the world squeeze you into its mold. Don't let all the technology and the time-saving gadgets and the little distractions, don't allow these things to squeeze you, shape you into its mold. But if we had to be honest here today in church, most of us, maybe all of us would say, wow, the world, the digital world, the technological world is doing a lot of squeezing, and I'm looking a little bit moldy. The good news is God is not surprised. God's not in heaven looking down and wondering, oh, all this technology, it's over, it's over. He's surprised by it. No, no, no. God is not surprised. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And God gives us what we need in this time in history to navigate these crazy waters where you and I swim every single day. What does he tell us? Look at 1 Timothy 4, verse 8. This is our passage for the series we're doing. 1 Timothy 4:8 says, for physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, holding promise for this present life and for the life to come. Working out is a good thing. Walking every day, swimming, playing golf, pickleball, tennis, whatever you do, jogging, all of that is great. Physical training is great. God is for us being as fit as we can be. At the same time, spiritual training, spiritual working out, if you would, is much greater. It has a better ROI, return on investment. It has value now in this life and also in the next life, the life that is to come. A while back, I was at a party, a birthday party, and I saw a friend of mine who goes to our church, and he came up to me, and he goes, hey, man, you know, I'm watching you preach, and you know, you look pretty good up there, but man, you're too skinny. You could put on some muscle, you know. You really need to do that. I was like, well, okay, you know. He goes, hey, listen, I've got a gym. If you come to my gym, I'll show you how to do it. And I was like, well, I think this was like in May. I said, I don't really have time right now to start some program, but August 1st, I'll show up. So I'll put that on my date. August 1st, show up, Friends Gym. I show up there, and he says, hey, here's your personal trainer. Do what he tells you to do, and eat what he tells you to eat. I was like, all right, I'll try it. Why not? So I start showing up. I show up 5 days a week. I meet with this guy 25 minutes, and he gives me a program. He gives me a workout. He has me doing things I've never done. Exercises I've never done. Eating amounts of food I've never eaten before, right? And just doing it and monitoring it and really getting intentional and specific. And about after, I don't know, 5 months, 6 months, I finally, believe it or not, hit my goal and gained as much as I can, no laughing, gained some muscle, gained some strength. But here's the deal. It never would have happened. Never would have happened if, number one, I didn't have a trainer who knew what he was doing and told me what to do. And number two, if I didn't open up my mind and my life and schedule to doing things that were new, things that kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone, that allowed me to experience some growth in that area. The same thing is true when we're talking about spiritual formation in the series we're in and growing, if you would, in godliness, as the passage tells us. You have to be willing to open yourself up, open your mind, open your heart, and open your schedule to doing new things. If you open yourself to new things, you will experience new life. If you don't, and you close yourself off and say, I can't do that, I'm a little bit scared of that, I don't have time for that, then you will remain stagnant and probably go backwards. God doesn't want us to go backwards. God has more for you and more for me in store for our lives than that. So what do? Today we're going to look at one of the practices of spiritual formation that I think has been most formative in my life, and I would say in the lives of hundreds of people here today. Today's spiritual practice that we're going to look at a little bit, and we'll look at more next week, is something I've been working on for decades. Decades I've been seeking to dial this practice in and to practice it every day in my life. You say, what is it? Let's dive back into God's Word. In Mark chapter 6, you have Jesus' disciples coming back to him after they've been on mission. It says, the followers of Jesus came back to him. They told him all the things they had done and taught. He said to them, listen to this, come away from the people. Be by yourselves and rest. There were many people coming and going, and they had no time to even eat. And they went by themselves with Christ in a boat to a desert. Jesus knew our limitations. He knew the limitations that we have as human beings to have so much activity, so much on our plates, so many things spinning in our minds and heads like we do now. He knows that in advance. And he called them to come away from the people, to disconnect in order to reconnect with the Heavenly Father. Not only did he know what we need, Jesus modeled it. He modeled it. Luke chapter 5, but Jesus often withdrew to lonely places to pray. Mark 1, very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Matthew 14, after he dismissed them, he went up onto a mountainside by himself to pray. Let that sink in for a moment. Jesus had 3 years to get it done. 3 years to build a team. 3 years to build a movement of men and women that would eventually change the entire world. He only had 3 years, and amidst his training, his teaching, his casting out demons, his healing, in the midst of all of that, in that compressed 3-year time, Jesus, the Son of God, the unique Son of God, took time to disconnect in order to reconnect and hear the voice of the Father. Jesus made space for silence. That was about 30 seconds. Felt like an hour, didn't it? Kind of awkward. You guys made it a lot longer than Woodway did. Congratulations, by the way. If Jesus needed to take time out of his schedule, I would say he was pretty busy. I would say he had a pretty important task to do. Maybe. If he took time to get away into silence and solitude to hear the voice of the Father, how much more do you and I need that? Mother Teresa said, God is the friend of silence. His language is silence, and he requires us to be silent to discover him. Moses was in the outer wilderness. Not the wilderness, the outer wilderness. When God called him and he heard his voice. Paul spent at least 3 years in the desert alone in Arabia to be with the Father. John was in exile in the Isle of Patmos in silence and solitude when he heard and received the revelation of the end of times. If we are going to navigate the turbulent waters of the technology that we swim in every day, we have got to make space in our days and our weeks for times of solitude and silence. It's not an option. Our phones, our screens will continue to gobble us up and dominate our hearts and minds and destroy our soul. God has not designed us to live like that. Psalm 46 says what? Be still and know that I am God. It doesn't say get busy and know that I'm God. It doesn't say get in a rush, go, 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 and know that I'm God. It doesn't say perform for me. No. Be still. Be silent. And know that I'm God. John Mark Comer called it the ruthless elimination of hurry. Most of us in here have been to some type of rehab in our lives. We have. Either you've been in a rehab for an addiction, or you've been in a rehab for shoulder surgery or knee surgery or a back or something like that, or heart, and you know what it means to have to rehab something, to learn new exercises to heal your body. We need to learn new exercises, new practices to heal our body, mind, spirit, and soul. God calls us to that. A lot of our students just got back from the mountains, the mountain retreat. And we had a great time up in the mountains in Glorieta, New Mexico. And what we did twice a day, what we encourage our students to do, the same thing we've done on our beach retreats, is to go and enter into a time of what we call silent sounds. And that's where we start learning how to practice this spiritual formation of silence and solitude. And our challenge is, what we're trying to do is, hey, let's take that practice and let's apply that when we get back to our homes, when we get back to school, and when we get back to work. How do you do it? How do you carve out time for silence and solitude? First of all, just quickly, you need to set a time. You need to find a place and then turn it off. Set a time. I like early in the morning, first thing. If you can do it then, that's great. Maybe it's in the middle of the day. Maybe it's at the end of the day. I don't know. But find a time. Set a time. Find a place. Maybe it's a particular chair, a particular place in your home. Maybe you do it on a walk. I don't know. But find a place and then turn it off. Disconnect from technology in order to reconnect with God and to hear the Father's voice. It's imperative we do it. Turn it off so we can tune in and begin to hear the Father's voice. C.S. Lewis said, God made us. He invented us as a man invents an engine. Now, God designed the human machine to run on himself. Think about that. He himself is the fuel of our spirits we're designed to burn, or the food of our spirits we're designed to feed on. We need food every day. We need fuel daily. Every day. Do you got a charger? Do you have a charger? Where's your charger? We have to recharge our technology to make them work. How much more do we need to recharge our minds and recharge our hearts and soul with God in solitude and silence? He's our fuel. He's our food. By His grace and by His mercy, He replenishes us. What's the noise that's keeping you from hearing God? When was the last time that you made space in your schedule for silence and solitude? We all know the online formula for happiness is bogus. It's the reverse. It's worship God, love people, and use things. That's the proper order. And God invites us. He invites us to experience more of Him as we engage in these spiritual formations. Next Sunday, we'll look at, well, what do we do when we withdraw and when we disconnect? What do we do in that space? Many years ago, I was invited to a baseball playoff game, and I had tickets right behind home plate. Now, the playoff game was coach pitch first grade baseball. And it was at the end of the game, and there was a little first grader on first base named Thomas. I knew his family, and Thomas's little friend was at the plate, and coach lobbed over a pitch. The little 6-year-old hit it, kind of dribbled right in the infield, and it went through the legs, probably of the shortstop and out into the outfield. And so third base coach, all the people in the stands are going, run, run, Thomas, run, run. And he's picking him up and putting him down about as fast as a first grader can. And he, gets there, he gets to second, and they're like, run, Thomas, go, take third. And he's running to third. And as he's running to third base coach, Dad, and everybody sees, oh no, he's got to stop at third. So everybody, the stands, the coach are, stop, Thomas, stop, stop, stop. And one voice in the crowd says, run, Thomas, run. And Thomas ignores the crowd, ignores the coach, and listens to the one voice and runs and runs and runs and somehow beat the ball and scored a run. Made it all the way home. Yeah. Now, maybe you know the answer to this question before I ask it, but why do you think little Thomas ignored all those other voices, even the voice of his coach, and listened to that one contrarian voice? You know why. He heard the voice of his Father above all the crowd. Why would we enter a time of silence and solitude with all the many things and busy things we have to do today? Why would we do that? So we can hear the voice of our Father above all the noise and racket that surrounds us. God is the friend of silence. Let's go into our time of invitation. I invite you to bow your heads for a moment of prayer and invitation. God, we're funny people. We're funny people. We run around clutching our little so-called smartphones and scrolling and clicking and swiping and texting and worrying and just filled, God, with so much. And God, I know that's not going to change. It's not the desire for us to take our phones and laptops, et cetera, and throw them in a big fire today. That's not what this is about. It's about learning how to hear your voice. It's about learning how to have these moments when we unplug from the matrix that is our life, that we can plug into you and hear your voice. God, we want to hear your voice just like little Thomas did as he was running around those bases, as we're running around this city, running around this country, God. We want to hear your voice, Father, and follow what you tell us to do. God, during this time of invitation, as Eric comes, may many listen to your voice and follow what you're telling them to do in this moment.